He's looking like a vet. Jayden Daniels had a heck of a season, leading his Commanders to the playoffs in a 12-win season. Now he has to face Baker Mayfield in the Bucs in Tampa. It has been an epic year for Daniels, but which team can make more noise in the playoffs? Danielson, Commanders or Bucs?
I'm going to go Washington. I've gone back and forth on this a ton. I think this is the one game that I think could become a shootout this weekend. Washington won, in part, Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels is having a year that in many ways rivals what CJ did last year, and in some ways eclipses it, and I never thought I would say that. I think that this offense is really starting to understand under Cliff Kingsbury exactly who they want. Him and Terry McLaurin should have a huge weekend. It's one of the best quarterback wide receiver duos in the playoffs. I think this offensive line performs at a really high clip. The one thing that I have a little bit of hesitation on, making me feel like really convicted about this, is Marshawn Lattimore. They trade for him. He doesn't play. He finally plays against Philly. He has some good moments. He has some moments that not so good. A.J. Brown, freakazoid. Then he gets hurt again. Like, how impactful is Marshawn Lattimore to the defense? Jonathan Allen's back now. It's a huge challenge against a good Tampa Bay offense. But I just think, like, if those two players, Allen and Lattimore, start to play and they're healthy enough for a little bit of a run, obviously win on the road this weekend, I think Washington could be a very dangerous team because the quarterback is so hot.
I'm going to go with the Bucs just because you mentioned that offense. Like, I think that Baker Mayfield is maybe the most underrated quarterback that's playing right now.
You're my favorite first take person ever.
Oh, is this something that you've been saying a lot?
I mean, some of us at this desk have lauded Baker Mayfield, and some of us haven't.
I think I know where Stephen A. stands on that.
I have lauded him, but don't listen.
The man is tied for second in touchdowns. Like, he has, 41 touchdowns?
He was a little late to the party.
The offense is fantastic. Now, I get it.
To believe it.
It's very scary watching a Bucs team that really had to rally to beat a Saints team that was playing for absolutely nothing just to make the postseason. But you sort of outlook who they would play next to, should they get past Washington, be Philadelphia, a team that they boat raced earlier in the season as well. I like them, I think, to make a little bit of a run, plus they just have that postseason pedigree. Jayden Daniels, by the way, playing absolutely incredible and out of his mind, but I just trust Baker in those big moments more because he's been there.
I'm going to go with you with Tampa. See, I paused and I reacted the way that I reacted because this is what he does. So he sits up there and he says, well, you know, I asked the Commanders. And he goes through all of this stuff about the Washington Commanders and Jayden Daniels and everything else. He brings up a couple of players. He said, I just believe. And then you go the opposite direction. Oh, you're my favorite person. You know what I'm saying? It just completely wipes out everything that you did.
No, it doesn't, because she said something positive about Baker.
Baker Mayfield. First of all, I did say something positive about Baker Mayfield. Matter of fact, I pointed out the fact that not only is he having a great season, but he took $33 million. His career was in jeopardy. When he departed from Cleveland, then he ultimately ended up in Carolina and stuff like that. We looked at him, we said, this brother might be finished. And for him to go to Tampa Bay and to play the way that he's been playing, I can't say enough about Baker Mayfield. I think he's not only turned his game around, I think he's turned his life around.
Amen.
Baker Mayfield, he deserves a lot of credit, a lot of props. And guess what? I think that Tampa Bay, you know, I could be wrong because I'd rather see more of Jayden Daniels, to be honest with you.
Sure. Because
I just think 3,500-plus yards, nearly 1,000 yards rushing, over 800 yards rushing, actually. The guy, what he has done this year, in every single big play that it seemed that needed to be made, he was the one who made it for the Commanders this year. So he's a guy I want to see. It's just that I'm looking at the seasoned Tampa Bay Buccaneers, coached by Todd, with Mike Evans there and the crew. I'm just in a mindset. I just got something. There's just something in me that's telling me the Commanders 1-4 this year versus fellow playoff teams this season. I just think
you have
this
a
is one
feeling.
of those games.
It's a little bit of your intuition.
I think it's Baker Mayfield. I think they win this game.
I think it's a good game. I really do. I think Tampa also has two guys that we don't talk about enough. I mean, Washington, it really has felt. Jayden Daniels and McLaurin. Bucky Irving and McMillan are studs. I mean, Bucky Irving is a superstar in the making in Tampa Bay. I think he reminds me a lot of like Brian Westbrook from the old school Eagles, just shifty, low to the ground, strong. Washington's offense should have its way against Tampa's defense. Tampa's defense plays a ton of zone. Jayden should have a ton of completions. I do think, though, the who you play after. So if Washington wins, they more than likely have to go to Philly, right? More than likely. That would be unless the Rams.
Commanders.
Or no, unless the Vikings win.
Commanders this year, their one win against one of their fellow playoff teams was against the Eagles, who didn't have Jalen Hurts.
Right, they lost
to Tampa,
that's late in the game.
Pittsburgh, and Philly.
Yeah.
Can I go back to a point that Dan made, though, about Jayden Daniels and he could surpass? I think he already has surpassed C.J. Stroud's rookie campaign. Not statistically, the stats are there, and I know that C.J. won a playoff game, but even though they were in rebuild mode last year, the Texans, they were just a few years away from like DNA in their winning DNA in their blood with Deshaun Watson. Like they had been a team that had won. What Jayden Daniels has been able to do on a team that has basically new ownership, almost an entirely new front office, new head coach, new coordinators. He's doing I think that it is an absolutely remarkable thing that he's done.
I agree.
You go on the field, C.J. Stroud last year, 3 game-winning drives. Jayden has 4 game-winning drives, and I think personally 2 of the best game-winning drives that we've seen all season long.
They lucked up against Chicago with the Hail Mary. We know that.
Call it luck, but there was some touch on that pass, right? Like, you got to get it there. We never call it luck when it's Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre doing it.
You got a defender turning his back to the offense because he's talking to the crowd. That didn't help. And then tip the ball into the receiver's hand for them to win the game.
This was a Commanders team that hadn't had a double-digit winning season since 2012.
That's right.
Yeah.
12 wins back in the postseason. Like, I don't care what he does from
Best
here on
season
out.
since Joe Gibbs was coaching.
Exactly. I don't care if he gets boat raced by the Bucs. I already think that what Jayden Daniels has been able to do is one of the greatest rookie campaigns we've seen.
That's a big comment. It is. I don't. And 7 o'clock this morning.
Stroud was just so exciting.
Yeah, so is Jayden.
Jayden's really exciting too.
The thing that
You haven't seen Jayden.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, but I just feel like C.J. Stroud, there was just even more buzz. I feel like people didn't expect it. And I know they didn't expect it with Jayden and the Commanders.
With CJ, it's gone. It's happened differently. Like CJ, and I said this all year, it was a mirage
Dan,
because
I'm getting yelled at. I'm sorry. I re-teed it up and we had to go to break. It's me. I got involved and I screwed up the segment. I'm sorry.
She's the problem. It's her.
It's me. Coming up, guys, Micah Parsons, I'm really sorry, is guaranteeing, not really,
tweet about it.
Lombardi Trophy for the Cowboys next season. Were his comments out of line? Southern Steve weighs in on that. Is it time for Mike Tomlin to move on from Pittsburgh? We disagree about whether the grass is greener elsewhere for the all-time head coach. We'll dive in.